Hello humanoids, welcome to The Great Everything, an exploration of our universe, including galaxies far, far away, through art, donuts and transformation. I'm Patrick, a former banking lawyer who saw the light and quit to dedicate my life to culture and philosophy, the greatest self-improvement tools of all. After the last art episode in which I discussed Duke Ellington and Harlem Jazz, today I want to talk about gut pleasures, the kind of lowbrow pursuits I collectively refer to as donuts. Because today is May the 4th, which I understand is yet another holiday made up by Disney to celebrate one of their properties, similarly to how they came up with Christmas so they could promote A Christmas Carol. Fucking Disney, up to their old tricks again. Did you know the founder was an anti-Semite? Anyway, I have a confession to make. I really don't care about Star Wars. Yes, shocking, I know. But I guess it's just that although I'm old enough to be, I'm simply not a part of the generation that grew up revering these movies. I didn't learn how to read and fight bullies or make love through watching Star Wars. I had my own influences. I had spaghetti westerns, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West. And of course I had Superman. That was my Star Wars. But at the same time, despite my flippancy about this series, Star Wars has had such a profound impact on our culture. It's spoken to countless generations, and by countless I mean 3. And so I wanted to give it a chance and make the effort to try and understand what about this series has the power to affect people so deeply, so much so that some will abandon all reason and actually join a religion based on the tenets of this movie and some pretty asinine conceptions of duality. What is it about Star Wars that speaks to people? So I watched all of the films, starting with the very first episode, The Phantom Menace. And having watched them all, I'm still on the fence. On the one hand, I kinda get it. There really are some incredible characters in this series, like Jar-Jar Binks, and also that big dinosaur with the tits that you squeeze and you get a green smoothie out of it. But despite these characters, the series has got some real problems. And also, the special effects take a real dip in the middle chapters. I don't know, budget issues, I guess. So the story of the War of the Stars begins in a galaxy far, far away. It's not specified which galaxy. And the main character is a guy called Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson, cool actor. And he's something called a Jedi Knight, or a Jedi Knight, I'm not sure which one. And these Jedi Knights, they're sort of like Shaolin monks, because they have swords and they fight and they flip around a lot, but they're also all about prayer. They're constantly yabbering on about something called the Force, which they can tap into and it gives them superpowers, but it's not very clear. And there's some weird philosophy and spooky religion stuff going on that maybe merits some discussion, but probably not. I'm not sure what's happening with the plot, but there's some kind of political trade war going on involving taxes and tariffs, and there's a princess played by Natalie Portman, and she's kind of a shit character, and then there's this other guy played by Ewan McGregor, who's also a shit character, called Obi Kenobi, which reminds me of Evel Knievel, but his character actually gets better as the series progresses. At one point, though, I guess Ewan McGregor must have argued with Disney or George Lucas, because in Part 4, his character, there's a switcheroo, it's played by a much older actor. It's kind of like, what Disney did again when they changed the Hulk from Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo in between movies, and none of us was supposed to notice. But I noticed, Disney. Anyway, look, I'll be honest, I don't even really understand what the hell this movie's about. There's these trade negotiations, then there's some sort of mistaken identity plot involving the princess and her doppelganger, I don't know. But despite the fact that I have no idea what the hell's going on, there's some interesting stuff going on in the movie. First of all, there's a really cool bad guy. He's called Darth Maul, and he looks like a Japanese demon, but he has a double-bladed laser sword, and he does flips and everything, and he's awesome. Except, of course, Disney fuck it up, because instead of keeping him for the whole series as the main bad guy, they kill him off in the first episode. Spoiler. This is something that really pisses me off when they do this, when a series finds a great character and then just kills them. It reminds me of Black Sails, this shitty series I watched on Netflix. It's about pirates, and Season 1 was a bit boring, and then Season 2 starts, and in the very first scene, there's this new bad guy introduced. And he's played by the guy from Vikings, the one who has only one eye. And he's an awesome and scary villain. And you're thinking, finally, Black Sails is going to get good because they got an awesome villain. Except then he dies, like 2 episodes later, and you're saying, what? Now I don't even know who the villain is, and there's no one who was as cool as this guy. So, yeah, Disney is not learning from the mistakes of Black Sails. Anyway, other stuff that happens on the Phantom Menace. The Jedi people, they find this kid on a desert planet and they measure his blood sugar or something, and from the measurement it turns out that he's some kind of chosen one. He's got superpowers. He's destined to change the world, and, I'm like, okay, fine, yawn. I'm a bit bored of this fantasy trope where you have a prophecy and a chosen one and he's destiny and yada yada. But, fine, I'll go with it. I mean, it's a classic storytelling technique. And the kid is kind of annoying. But, to be fair, you can tell early on that he's cool because he wins a space race with pods, and this tells us that he has some kind of superpower having to do with this force nonsense. But it's not clear what he can do with it, except, drive really fast. But his name is cool, Skywalker. I like that. And then the series does something cool. It pulls a Ned Stark move right out of left field, and it kills Liam Neeson right at the end of the first episode. And you're like, what the fuck? You killed off the main hero? But then you think again, you say, oh, I get it. I guess the kid Skywalker, he's going to be the real hero of the series. Fine, okay, I'll go with it. But that's one thing that really leaves me puzzled about this series right off the bat. They introduce these cool characters and then they kill the best ones in the first episode. And then there's other characters who are okay, but then the actors playing those characters, they change between seasons, so it's hard to build an emotional connection with any of the characters, And meanwhile, the most boring characters the hero meets, who are two absolutely ridiculous and useless robots, these two characters, they stay on for the whole series. They're still around in episode 8. What's going on, Disney? Who's making these decisions? Anyway, I won't even pretend to know what's happening with the first season. It gets really bad after the first episode. I mean, episodes 2 and 3 are awful. Right, first of all, the hero, Skywalker, they changed the actor. So now you're like, oh, I have to get to know him all over again. And they don't just change the actor, they also change his personality. Because now he's some sulky teenager. He dresses like a goth dude, all in black. He's super powerful, which is cool. But it's not clear where he's going to go with these powers. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And he's the hero. Why would you have this make-believe conflict going on? And then in the background, there's some kind of war with clones going on, and the Force is disturbed, and there's a bunch of other Jedis around. One of them is played by Samuel Jackson, which is cool. And then there's a tiny green one that everyone acts like he's some badass, but he looks and sounds ridiculous. And then there's some evil dude in a robe plotting in the shadows, standard stuff, except for the little green midget guy. It's pretty bad. The acting is awful. The script is terrible. I don't understand what's going on. So let's fast forward to the season finale, and finally, something cool happens. So, our hero, the Skywalker kid, the conflict was real. He actually turns evil and murders everyone. And I'm thinking, man, I've never seen this done before. Where the hero legit turns into the bad guy. It's not some sort of fake out move. He's actually become evil. He kills children. That's how evil he turns. I mean, you think Walter White, right? He starts Breaking Bad as a bit of an asshole. And even when he's being evil, you're still kind of rooting for him. But here, imagine they took Jon Snow from Game of Thrones and turned him into Jaime Lannister. That's the kind of craziness that's happening with Skywalker. Anyway, end of first season, Ewan McGregor fights Skywalker, chops him up into little bits, and throws him into a volcano. So you're like, what the fuck? I don't even know who the main character in the series is anymore. Because, Ewan McGregor, I guess he is, but he's a bit boring. I'm not sure he has the charisma to just carry this show going forward. And also, they just killed Samuel Jackson. So who's gonna carry this? In general, it's a very grim ending for Season 1. Basically, everyone cool is dead or hiding. The Republic has fallen, whatever that means. It's messed up. Except, there's a little coda at the end of the season that lets us know it's not over yet. You see, Skywalker isn't dead. He gets revived, and he gets a cool suit of armor, but he's not happy about it. And his girlfriend, Natalie Portman, she's had twins. So I guess Disney's telling us that they already knew the series would get renewed and the story would continue, probably with these twins having something to do with it. Skip to Season 2, and this is the one that leaves me baffled. Because I guess what happened is, they said, okay, we got renewed, we're going to keep going with this series, but at the same time, they must have realized that Season 1 was pretty shitty. So they took some very strange decisions. They changed all the actors, and the characters too. They just keep the robots and the two babies from the Season 1 finale. Bold move. Then they cut the budget in half. Seriously, it's weird. Everything looks cheaper and way faker, and they start using puppets instead of CGI. And I guess they couldn't afford martial arts choreographers either, because the sword fights look lame as hell now. But, on the plus side, they clearly focus all that extra energy on the script, because the writing is way better now, and the characters are also more compelling. First of all, they finally nail Skywalker. Now he's got a suit of armor, and they call him Darth Vader, and he's a much more interesting character. He makes an interesting and scary villain. He should have been a villain all along. I really don't know what they were thinking trying to make him the hero in the first season. And Ewan McGregor's character is better too. He's now played by this old dude, and it's like the character now just makes sense. He's warmer and he's wiser. He's less boring than when he was Ewan McGregor. And you get the idea that, yes, this is how they should have written the character from the start. And there's this other kid called Luke. Now, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but literally from the beginning of the movie, it's obvious who this guy is. It's clearly Skywalker's kid. It's one of the babies from the season 1 finale. I mean, he's from the same desert planet as Skywalker. They even call him Luke Skywalker. I mean, duh. So I guess this is one of the situations where the son will have to fight the father type thing. But for some reason, in the middle of season 2, Luke does fight Skywalker, and Skywalker tells him, "I'm your father," and everyone acts like this is some big surprise. What? Like, dude, his name is Skywalker. It's obviously him. Like, who is this surprising? It's kind of like in Westworld, you know, when the whole internet had already figured out that Jeffrey Wright's character was a robot, spoiler. When it was revealed, like, this was meant to be some huge thing, it was kind of lame, like, yeah, we knew. But anyway, it's a good season overall. Skywalker is a way better villain than a hero. He also gets to redeem himself in the end. And Yoda is pretty cool, even though he's played by a puppet now. And it even has Indiana Jones in it, and I like Indiana Jones. So yeah, I like this season. Now, season 3 mixes things up again. They change a lot of the characters, but this time they mostly keep the same actors, so you at least are able to maintain some emotional connection. And look, I'm not going to spoil anything because we're in the middle of the season, but I think this is the one I like the most. It's got the coolest character in the series so far, and it's another Skywalker who's kind of a dick like when the original Skywalker was a teenager, but also wears body armor like when the original Skywalker was a villain. And this new Skywalker, Kylo Ren he's called, he's super powerful and also really scary, but also he's like a wimpy nerd who flies into these blind rages and nobody respects him, but everyone's scared of him. He's kind of like the introverted guy in your crew, you know, who's a bit of a loser, but there's times you look at him and you think, I don't know about this guy. There's something not quite right about him. And you could imagine he's the kind of guy who would grab a van and go run over some tourists in the city center or something. And that's the new Skywalker. I have to say, I've never seen a character like that in a movie before. Anyway, okay, I get it. This Star Trek is kind of fun. It's very weird, none of it makes any sense, and I'll be damned if I understand what the hell's going on, but I think I'll keep watching. I just hope they bring Jar Jar back. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Great Everything, and if you like the show, there's a few ways you can help out. You can leave a review on iTunes or anywhere else you listen to this podcast, or you can share it, embed it, talk about it on your podcast or write a blog about it. Or you could just add me on the various Twitters and Instagrams out there. But if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can call in using Anchor, or you can look up The Great Everything on Facebook. I have a discussion group there where people talk about literally everything, from ethics to politics to Marvel movies. So if that's your thing, check it out. I hope I see you again here, there, or anywhere else, frankly. Until then, grazie e arrivederci.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.